You are listening to a group of instruments made by the people playing them. Not the usual array found in bands and orchestras, but unique instruments made of jars, wine glasses, kitchen utensils, all sorts of odds and ends. The group calls itself Music for Homemade Instruments. This piece, by Carol Weber, was composed especially for these instruments. Not only are the instruments and the music unique, but the pitches used differ totally from the notes most familiar music is based on.
Most Western music of the past 3 centuries is based on a scale which divides the octave into 12 equal units. This is known as the chromatic scale. That's all many Western instruments are designed to play.
But some musicians have wanted to experiment with other intervals, unequal intervals, and smaller divisions of the octave. One of the most original and influential experimenters was Harry Partch, an unconventional Californian who lived until the mid-1970s. Partch wanted to integrate sculpture, music, dance, and drama into a unified artistic experience that would reach people on the basic, primitive levels of myth and ritual.
The dreamer that dreamed.
His commitment to this ideal has served as an inspiration for many other musicians. One is Skip LaPlante, a member of the group Music for Homemade Instruments. He has recreated a 72-string kithara, one of Partch's inventions.
Harry Partch did a batch of different things. I mean, it was sort of one guy creating from scratch a whole world for himself. The whole thing for him was pitch. He wanted to work a 43 tone to the octave scale. This is late 1920s, early 1930s when he's doing this. There are no electronics. You want a scale that's that out of the ordinary, you have to build your own instruments to do it.
Harry Partch was a real seminal influence for us. He was an American composer who built all his own instruments and composed for those instruments. This was an amazing feat. And as I grew up in high school, I saw his instruments and heard his music on record. It was the prime time for Harry. It was like the late 60s, and it was a wonderful time to see his work. And I just thought, here's this man that has the vision of making your own music on your own instruments. What a fabulous thing.
Harry was building instruments that were works of art by themselves, that by just the majesty of the instrument, before you even heard it, you were taken swept off your feet. They were beautiful. They were the set. And they were not to be hidden. They were to be up front. They could move on wheels. They were sculpture in the best sense of the term.
He didn't want to be anyone's composition teacher, but what he did for me was something that I treasure for my life. The pioneer spirit of building something new, not being satisfied with the materials that one inherits from one's own culture, but the willingness to take a few years out and do something that one really believes in, if that's what it takes.
Harry Partch liberated us. Not everyone. There's still too many people who don't know who he is. But he liberated enough people that there are movements all over this country, and there's a lot of admiration for his work outside of this country that make for sort of legitimization of ingenuity, as if it needed legitimization.
Da, 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 da. What do you see? Da, 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 da. I see. Oh. No. 71 as this is being said, and I've been doing my own thing for almost 6 decades. I knew that I was going to be involved with music in some serious way when I was 14. Well, I knew it before, but when I was 14, I began to write music and conceive of dramatic situations. And I said right then and there, I will not be straight-jacketed by anyone. I'm going to be completely free. There was simply no way to go. There was no path for me. I was a hobo for roughly 12 years, off and on, because I always took a job if I could find one. This was mostly during the Depression. It was one of the greatest experiences, to be very tired of carrying a pack and throw it down, buy a nice, beautiful brook, and find sticks for a fire and build a fire and be careful not to start a fire that you don't want. Of course, hobos are extraordinarily individualistic people. That's why they're hobos. They cannot conform to the society, that the strictures of a city. You never find them in cities to speak of. I'm talking about the Depression, which is what I know best. But I doubt if people have changed. In other words, what I'm saying is that there are the same kinds of people today. There are the same kinds of people who will go out on the road and thumb their nose at society and say, I'm going to do everything by myself. I can remember taking a blanket out on the American River and saying, oh, thank heaven I don't have to go to a flop house tonight. And thank heaven I can build a fire on my own and buy something that's infinitely cheaper and infinitely better and cook it myself than to go into some stupid hash joint. Gee, I was glad to hear from you. Believe it or not, pal, I just received your letter today. It must have followed me all over the world, but it got to my wife and she wrote it open and read it and sent it to me this morning. Well, I came back east and run into a shotgun wedding, and I was the gold. So back on the bomb again. Now, I think my music is intrinsically corporeal, that it has a body feeling about it. I care what the instruments look like. They are pieces in space. They are spatial products. And being in space, they have to look great. They have to be inspiring all by themselves. Then the man or woman who plays that instrument is a part of the instrument. It's a oneness. It's a wholeness. And by God, if I have anything to say about it, he's not going to look like an amateur California prune picker. I've never had the feeling I was competing with anyone. It is my aim to hold an audience, just as any playwright wants to hold his audience, just as Euripides wanted to hold his audience. I've built 3 kitharas since 1938, and these 3 are probably the first that have been built in the last 1,500 years. The kithara is a lyre, the instrument used by the professional Greek musician. The lyre of Orpheus had 3 strings. The traditional number of strings was 8, but lyres were experimented with, of course. One of the very famous experimenters was Timotheus from Sparta, of all places, who increased the number of kithara strings from 8 to 12. For the crime of 12 strings, the Spartans drove the immoral Timotheus from their city. He had failed to realize that to dream of desirable changes is one thing, to act upon those dreams is another. My kithara has 72 strings, and I shudder to think what might have happened to me in ancient Greece. But when someone does something different these days, we simply ignore him to death. Now we're beginning to get a coupling. You hear it down there? Well, by God, I do. Okay, closer. There you go. Now it's coupling. Come on, somebody say something. Don't you hear that coupling?
Yes, I hear it.
Yours is high and he's low. Now, can you get level? Okay. Now bring it up just slowly. Now down. There. Listen to that. This tongue must vibrate at virtually the same frequency as this cavity. And so you can say the tongue must couple with the cavity or there's no resonant tone. And yes, this is very sexy. Music is sexy, acoustics is sexy, nature is sexy. When I go along a mountain trail and I see a stream and I'm thirsty, I plunge into it head first almost to get a drink of water. As a matter of fact, it's said that Julius Caesar picked his soldiers that way. They would cross the stream. They were all thirsty. And the soldiers he wanted are the ones who just plunge down, belly down, and stick their faces into that water. And the ones who went and got a cut before they would take a drink of water, well, Pompey and Mark Antony could have those soldiers as far as Caesar was concerned. It's a curious fact that the wine and liquor bottles will give approximately the same frequency under each brand name. For example, the lowest tone is an Old Heaven Hill Sour Mash. The top is a Bristol Cream Sherry. And if you don't get exactly the right tone here or the right tone here, you simply ask your friends to save your Old Heaven Hill or whatever bottles. Again. This is the spoils of war, so named because of the 7 brass artillery casings hanging here. And how much better to have them hang here than shredding young men's bodies on the battlefield. This is the blow boy. It takes me back a long time ago to southern Arizona and hearing the steam engine pulling a freight through the pass 60 miles away. Away. My earliest memories are Arizona and the Old West and Tombstone. No, I don't remember Tombstone, but I certainly remember Benson and the totally different kind of place it was. It was the Old West, the dying gasps of the Old West. I'm thinking of those fantastic cave drawings in France and southern France and in northern Spain, Altamira, I think it is. And there's no author there. What a treasure they are. And who cares who wrote? How many thousand years ago was that? No, well, of course, I'm not saying that anything I'm going to do is going to last that long. But who cares what the name was?